This afternoon, climate arsonist President Joe Manchin had an interview he was going to do with Semaphore, a media outlet, interrupted by Climate Defiance, a group of climate activists who have been going around and interrupting speakers and events held by mostly corrupt establishment, climate burning politicians, including Joe Manchin. Let's take a look at their interruption, which included taking Manchin to task for helping to ram through the highly dangerous, totally unnecessary Mountain Valley Pipeline as part of the debt ceiling deal.
Meeting will resume momentarily.
You did not use us. What you're saying, talk to us for dignity. Why won't you talk to us? We don't want a Mount Valley pipeline to go through the same mountains you've already let get blown up.
Get off my stage! Off my stage!
I'm Riley Hall. I'm from Parkersburg, West Virginia, and Manchin is a fucking coward. How did he win this? It's because he takes the most money from fossil fuel corporations.
He has received over $1 million just in the last year alone from fossil fuel interests. He's the #1 recipient of fossil fuel money in Congress.
23 days I hunger strike because we did everything we're supposed to. I knocked on thousands of doors. I talked to hundreds of West Virginians. I did everything I was supposed to.
Dirty deal, MVP, Manchin, you are killing me. Dirty deal, MVP, Manchin, you are killing me. Dirty deal, MVP.
So the guy screaming at the climate protesters to get off the stage was Steve Clemons, one of the founders of Semaphore. He is a longtime establishment journalist who likes to suck up to corrupt politicians like Joe Manchin for access to breaking news stories, i.e. regurgitating bullshit from said corrupt politicians like Joe Manchin. Anyway, for you Status Coup OGers, you will recall that the Mountain Valley Pipeline was actually the first story we went out to cover on the ground. Back in 2018, when we launched, I went down there and I covered the fact that protesters in Virginia and West Virginia, the path of the pipeline, were protesting at the top of their trees, including a mother and daughter who climbed up their trees on their own property for 30 days, protesting and not coming down to stop the trees from getting cut down so that the fossil fuel company could ram the pipeline through their property against their will. There became a bit of a community around these tree protests, with supporters coming to spend time with the tree protesters, send up food and other supplies up the tree to them. It really was a beautiful sight. Here are some of my coverage back in 2018 that you, Status Coup viewers and paying members, helped fund.
All around, I mean, right next to you is where trees have been cut down all over this forest. Some of these are hundreds of years old, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And as I zoom in above you, that's where one of the sits was. That, I don't know if you could see here, that kind of blue signs there. Is that where you were at first?
Yeah, at first. Before I got cocky and caught on the outside.
And kind of talk about a lot of the trees they've been cutting here. You got hundreds year old apple trees.
Yes.
Kind of talk about what we're looking at here.
So this used to be an apple orchard that didn't have all these trees up here, and I'm trying to find one they cut down. Here we go. This apple tree right here, and you can actually see in line further down in both directions. There would have been just rows and columns of them back before the apple orchards weren't as profitable nowadays. So the forest grew up around it, but you can still see trees around.
There's forest trees cut down all the way down there. It's just complete lack of concern for people's land, the climate, the environment.
So whoever drew a random line through the map did not take very much stuff into consideration. Poorly thought out, poorly planned.
And you also were talking earlier about wetlands experts coming down.
Yeah.
Because they didn't exactly study that correctly.
No,
either.
they're trying to cram it through as fast as they can, and they don't really care about the violations that they're doing, which is unfortunate because this creek is the headwaters of the entire Roanoke River. So they're just trying to cram it through as quick as they can because I think they're nervous.
Yeah. And how, I mean, I don't know if you have the exact number, but I'm assuming Roanoke River, a lot of people get their water from there.
Yeah, a whole lot of people. Matter of fact, the on the other side of Poor Mountain, they ran it within about a mile and a quarter of Spring Hollow Reservoir, right above it, which is the water for all of Roanoke County. Well, I've been tweeting at Northam saying, A, you're no better than Trump and Pam Northam. Like, this is that they're just sort of smirking about this and not doing anything. And not to mention, there's a couple of things that he's tweeted about environmental stuff, especially down on the Eastern Shore. He obviously doesn't care about this. Not to mention the fact that he took a lot of money from MVP and other natural gas investors. That's the kind of stuff that makes people not vote Democratic.
Yeah.
Read a lot of comments online. People are just like, just get them out of the trees, just get out of the way, let the government do what they want to do. It's not running through their backyard though.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest insult.
Those people are obvious phonies. They're absolute phonies. They talk the talk, they don't walk the walk. When it actually comes down to like a family that's owned this property for 7 generations, it seems like they'd be all about it. But yeah, where the hell are they? Pathetic. Yeah.
Sat up in a tree for over 30 days. As soon as they got down, they cut down the tree, the platform. Right here, you see all this cut down trees. This is Miner's brother, son of Red Terry. Can you kind of talk about, you were just taking me through while Miner was up on this platform, you and some others were kind of camping out in support. We were just kind of higher up on the mountain looking at trees that are hundreds of years old, cut down, apple trees that Bent Mountain used to produce a lot of those. You kind of look at this, just what's your initial feeling?
They have no plans to do anything with these trees. They're just gonna let them lay, let them rot, maybe push them into a pile and burn them, push them to the side while they do their construction. Like, that's a lot of good wood right out there. That'd be firewood for life for us up here. It's just gonna, they don't care about it.
Kind of talk about, we already see a creek down there. There's creeks all over here, streams. This is the beginning of the stream that goes into the Roanoke River, which is a lot of people's drinking water. Talk about the risks.
Well, this stream right here in particular, about 1,000 feet up is where it comes out of the ground, out of the spring. So there is a lot of water coming out to have like running water right here. What they have to do, MVP, is dig 10 feet down to bury this pipeline. And to do that, they're going to have to, they're just going to blast. Like, they're going to get their backhoes and dig a little bit. You probably got like a good foot of dirt under you before you hit bedrock. And we're afraid as soon as they do blast that it's going to shift the karst topography that's under us right now. And who knows what's going to happen to this little creek right here. And if it dries up, well, that's just one less feeder into Bottom Creek that's feeding Roanoke River, that's feeding, I haven't seen the exact figure, I think 120,000 people are drinking off that.
I mean, look at all that deforestation. Just tree after tree after tree after tree cut down. It's kind of hard to explain, but when you're here, it's just the destruction of land for an oil company to make money. It's kind of crazy and greedy and awful. There's a lot of Democrats culpable in these things too. Democratic governors, Democratic mayors, that they take big oil money and they look the other way.
Oh yeah. Northam is definitely looking in the other direction. He was not concerned about stopping the pipeline. He was concerned that my mom was still smoking in the tree. All right, well, a lot of people smoke. Like, you're about to destroy the water. It's a 42-inch, 1,400 PSI natural gas pipeline in terrain that has never been attempted. Like, you can see how steep it goes all the way up that way, how steep it turns, it twists. Nobody's ever attempted this. 1400 psi is not a joke either. That's a lot of pressure. If it leaks, I assume it's just going to come shooting and rocketing out of the ground. If it blows up, I have heard it's going to be a 2 3/4 mile kill zone, which is a lot of people up here. And nobody can put that fire out. They just have to wait for it to burn. And they decided it was so rural out here, they don't have to put the emergency valves every 10 miles. They can do it every 20. So it's going to be 20 miles, 42 inches around of natural gas just burning.
Speaking about a family whose history I only know a little bit from growing up around here, I don't know if this was mentioned, that the Terry family, since they did own a huge chunk of this family, did you mention this already? That you know, 100 years ago, there was no electricity up here. So the Terry family gave a bunch of their property so they could put telephone poles and or you know, some of these high voltage towers and stuff, so they could be service the community. There was no school up here, so the Terry family gave that plot of land over there so that there would be a school on Benton Mountain. So it's not like, it's not a family who doesn't understand like how to serve the public good.
I mean, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, where Red, her daughter, Minor, climb up their trees on their property that's been in their family since the 16th century, I believe, and they're being told you're trespassing on their property.
I can't believe anything that's more un-American. That's sickening. It's absolutely sickening. And the fact that Judge Dillon voted in the favor of the corporation just shows you how corrupt that is. It's sickening. The fact that she cited cases that were used against coal miners in West Virginia that stifled their ability to use their own free speech. Those were the cases that she cited. It's sickening. Mm-hmm. And that's it's again, this is a branch of a larger thing, which obviously even the coal miners are fighting for. But yeah, these corporations will just act with complete impunity, just do what they want to.
I mean, look at this destruction. You're not going to see this anywhere. You think CNN's coming up here? Please. Yeah, if you could prove Putin cut down the trees, they'll be here in a jiffy. This is what we need. We need more attention on, it's not just the destruction of the planet or the country, but it's the destruction of basic humanity. We talk about, we started a revolution against tyranny in Great Britain. Well, what the fuck do you call this? This is tyranny. And I'm not supposed to say that because I'm a journalist, but I just speak the truth. I mean, tyranny is when you're controlled and you don't have freedom. And this is tyranny. And, it's been difficult for me the last few months because, I had surgery and other things. I couldn't get back here and show this. But this stuff is happening all out in the open. It's just that our media is completely bought off. YouTube, the platform I'm on right now, is literally suppressing journalists that are not from CNN or bigger outlets. They are suppressing us so you can't see the truth. Maybe their corporate advertisers wouldn't like this, but this is what's going on. And it's not just environmental. There's a lot of corruption involved with this. There's local Virginia Congressman Goodblatt, I read about, that has a blatant conflict of interest. He's invested in a holding company that's invested in these pipelines. I mean, this is legalized bribery on steroids. And by the way, one of you, I think, said it, or Red said it. These oil companies, if they would get their brains on connected straight, they could make just as much money, if not more money, if they shifted tomorrow to solar and wind without destroying people's property, and not to mention the water and the animals and, all that. So all I ask, if you can contribute so we could stay, literally, you should see what we're working with here. Jen is not a camera person, but she's my camera person today. We barely have a working microphone. We barely have anything. We're starting from the ground up here. So if you could contribute to the Patreon, this is what it's for. Patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. If you don't want to do monthly, you can make a one-time contribution to my PayPal, paypal.me/Jordan Sheridan. But I'm not, I'm not interested in reporting on like Rudy Giuliani and stupidity he says, or Russian trolls and all this bullshit that doesn't matter. This matters right here because I think he said it best. If they could come and do it through the Appalachian Trail, by the way,
They're doing it through the Big Bend region in southwest Texas. I covered that pipeline down there. Before you know it, they'll say, too bad that your kids go to daycare there. We need the gas.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's keep it real. It was rammed through. The Mountain Valley Pipeline was rammed through in the debt ceiling deal, a debt ceiling deal that did not have to happen because the president could have invoked the 14th Amendment, could have minted a coin, as we've covered here at Status Coup. And because Joe Manchin is beyond corrupt, cartoon villain level corrupt, he demanded for his vote to vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which was another highly exaggerated, great, revolutionary, historic bill that essentially, as the planet is burning and being destroyed before our eyes, sprinkled some tax credits to stave off planetary destruction. That was the Inflation Reduction Act that all the pundits and some progressives crowed about. But to get Manchin to vote for that, Biden promised that at some point, I will find a way to fast track the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which is an extremely dangerous fracked gas pipeline that is going up through West Virginia and Virginia, some of the steepest slopes in America. It is going through thousands of waterways. And when it explodes, it has a blast radius of 2.5 miles, which is going to kill West Virginians and Virginians in its path, not to mention the destruction to water, land, and animals. The fact that this pipeline, which has been rejected and permits have been denied through the courts and through agencies because of the dangers I just outlaid, was rammed through by a supposedly climate-friendly and environmental friendly president, shows you everything you need to know. On paper, is Trump and Republicans worse on the environment? Yes, but we don't really have the option of a lesser of two evils when we have less than a decade at this point to turn this thing around in terms of climatary destruction. Frankly, a large part of the climate inferno is irreversible damage at this point, according to the United Nations and others. So I'm glad we went down to cover this, and we might have to go back to cover the continued fight against Mountain Valley Pipeline, because just because it was rammed into this deal doesn't mean the activists who have been fighting this thing for over a decade will stop. So we'll continue covering it, but that was a bit of a flashback to our coverage of Mountain Valley Pipeline from 4 or 5 years ago and the latest updates with the continued protest among climate activists disturbing President Manchin. And this is my 2024 vote, Manchin and the parliamentarian.